Hey everyone, so I bought this online and I have not used it yet for videos, and I was thinking maybe I'll try it with my YouTube vlog and see how well it works. I don't know if I can clip it on and you would still be able to hear, or should I just continue hanging on to it like it's a microphone? Well, anyways, I'm feeling a little better. Not the greatest, but I am feeling better. So I figured that I would come back and I would do the video that I originally intended for this morning, but I ended up talking about how I was sick last night and everything. Do not mind my little spa headband because I cannot find what happened to my hair ties. And the thing is we had to bring a lot of stuff from our second storage unit. We had to bring a lot of that stuff into this room, and that made this room a little more cluttered, but I'm hoping that I can get it organized and make it less cluttered. I will talk more about where what kind of place we live in later on, but that's not important right now. And yes, I am wearing shorts. It does look like I'm not, but I am wearing shorts for anybody that is a little curious on why you see a lot of leg. Um, all right, so what do I want to talk about in this video is I want to talk about uh, my childhood, let you know a little bit about me. Okay, so I was born in spring of 1981 to John and Patty. I also have a sister that's 6 years older than me. I don't see her that much because we live a distance away from each other, and we both have different different lives. Um, I was raised in a small country type town where everybody knew everybody, everybody's parents knew everybody's kids. Um, I was a very shy child growing up. I didn't have many friends. I found it hard to make friends. And the few friends that I did have, when I ended up being held back in third grade, uh, even though I passed on to fourth grade, they decided to hold me back because I have a reading disability at the time, which I do not have a reading disability now. I grew out of that. And I had a slight learning disability, which I still have some problems with learning, but not as bad as I did back then. I ended up losing a lot of friends because I ended up being held back. And all the people that I knew and all the people I associated with ended up going off to fourth grade. So I ended up feeling like the outcast in the new class that I was placed in because I had to repeat third grade. And since I had passed third grade, I already knew what to look forward to in class, and people just looked at me a lot differently. I did gain some friends, but it seemed like as we got older, I lost a lot of those friends. A lot of those friends became snobs. Some joined cheerleading squad and just shrugged me off like I was a nobody. And that's okay. That's okay because that's their problem that they did not want to remain friends with me. I think that I'm a very good friend. As long as you don't stab me in the back, talk shit about me, or anything, I'm a good friend. I'm a great listener. I'm a great mentor. And I love helping people. And the thing is like with my mental health, I love helping people with their mental health, even though I struggle with mine. Because there's some things that I can't fix with me that maybe something could be fixed with somebody else. Right. So we're getting a little off topic there. When I was in school, my mother I believe it was my mom, because I don't think I ever heard my dad say anything about it. We had one rule. Well, I had one rule. My sister didn't. There was one rule that I was not allowed to date until I was out of high school. I was fine with that. I was fine with that because I was a tomboy, which I still am a tomboy. I was a tomboy, so I really wasn't into the whole dating scene. And I preferred to be I would prefer to be introverted. I preferred to be by myself. And some people would think that like being introverted means that you like to stay inside and, you know, be by yourself and whatnot. No, that's not introverted. That's a part of being an introvert. But there are people that are introverts that do like to go outside, but they prefer to do things on their own. Me, before I ended up with my mental health problems, I used to love to go out into nature. Growing up, when it was summertime, the minute I got up, I grabbed something to eat, packed me a small lunch, and I was out the door. I was out the door. I didn't stay at home watching TV, playing Atari, Nintendo, whatever. I was out the door hanging out in the woods. Did I have days that I did stay home, play in the yard, or watch some TV and whatnot? Yeah. That's mainly when the weather was wonky and I didn't want to be out there. And then what I would do is I would come back home in time for supper, eat my supper, and then I'd be back outside for a little bit longer and just make sure that I am back home before the sun goes down. Because if you're not back home when the sun goes down, you're hearing it from your mom. Believe me, you're hearing it from your mom. So for anybody who was born before this new, generation where they can do anything they want, you know what I'm talking about. Once those street lights came on, your ass better be home. If you weren't home through that door, you're locked out. You're sleeping on the front steps, you're sleeping on the porch, you're sleeping in the yard. Because they're not unlocking that door for you. You knew what the rules were and you broke them. So me, my parents didn't have to worry about that with me. I was the kind of kid that listened to my parents. No, there was sometimes I didn't listen to my parents, but I listened to my parents about the important things. The important things. Don't talk to strangers, which is kind of funny because we're all talking to strangers now. Don't get in a car with a stranger, which is kind of funny because we use Uber and Lyft. We're getting in a car with strangers. Um, you know, don't take candy from strangers. Now, that was the funny thing. That's the funny thing. We were always raised, don't take candy from strangers. But what were we doing on Halloween night? What were we doing on Halloween night? We got ourselves into a costume. And if we were younger, we had those plastic masks that we couldn't breathe out of. And the plastic costumes, you all know what I'm talking about. We all know what I'm talking about. Okay, back in the day, we didn't have those fabric costumes. We had plastic smocks and plastic maps with a little elastic string that went around the back of our heads. And if we had a small head, it wasn't fitting. If we had a big head, it wasn't fitting. So it's like you couldn't win for nothing. But what did we do? We went from door to door, ringing doorbells, knocking on the door, saying trick or treat, and getting candy from a stranger. And here we're raised not to take candy from a stranger, but on that one day, we're allowed to. We're allowed to because a lot of parents, they took their kids trick or treating to places uh, that they knew, but eventually you ended up going trick or treating in a place that you weren't familiar with. So you were taking candy from a stranger, and even if you knew the person, can you really trust getting candy from them? So, I mean, how did we survive that? And it makes you wonder about this generation that we have now, Gen Z. Now we got Gen Alpha and whatnot. It's like, could they survive back when I was a child or anybody that's older than me was a child? But all seriousness, would Gen Z and Generation Alpha ever survive the 60s, 70s, or 80s growing up, or even the 90s, or even the 90s, okay? Even the 90s. I don't think they could. We didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones. We had phones that were connected to, attached to a wall with a cord, a curly cord that we all played with when we were on the phone. And if we wanted to talk to our friends and say they had moved out of town and they were long distance away, we had to wait until a certain time before we could actually get on the phone and talk to our friends. Okay, so back to the thing about we weren't allowed to date. I actually kind of got around that, and I don't think my parents really knew about this, but they're both not with us anymore, so I think I can start, talking about that. In August of 1999, I went to go see American Pie at the Strand Theater. And there I ran into somebody, and we ended up getting acquainted with each other. And I come to find out he lived in the trailer park that my friend lived in. So when school started, we ended up hanging out with each other whenever I would go visit my friend. And then my friend decided that she was going to try to hook us both up. So secretly, I was dating this older guy. I can't remember how old he was. I think he was like, oh my God, I don't know how old he was. I know he was older than me. Uh, and I was 18 at the time. And so remember, I was 18 at the time. So when I say he was older than me, I was legal age by then. I think he was like 23 or 24 years old. Um, and we didn't go on dates. We would hang out whenever I went over to my friend's house. We would sneak over to his parents' house and whatnot. We'd hang out. Um, he was actually my first kiss. Not the greatest. It was not the greatest, believe me. This whole situation with him, I kind of regret ever being involved with this person. Did only last like 2 or 3 weeks, so I really don't consider that really dating. But he was a user, and that was not something I was interested or wanted to be around. I was not raised like that. I have nothing against people that do that, but I myself did not want to be around it. I didn't like how it made him act, and it just made him act stupid. So I ended up deciding to call it off. I told him I was done. I did not want to be in any type of relationship with him anymore. Then something happened that his brother his brother ended up calling me, and he was telling me how his brother was very upset about me breaking up with him. And I was thinking to myself, well, big deal. Grow up. You're 24 years old. Grow up. I'm 18. I'm still in high school. And then here's where it got worse for me. His brother told me that the guy I was dating ended up doing something. He didn't want to live anymore, so he ended up ODing. I flipped out. I flipped the F out because I thought that I caused his brother to do that. And he told me that his brother was in the hospital fighting for his life. I completely lost it then. Because here I am thinking to myself, I caused this young man to think that his life was not worth living anymore, and he did this. I dropped to the floor, dropped the phone, and started crying. My mom came over, asked what was going on. I couldn't even tell her. I couldn't even tell her what was going on. And here I am blaming myself for causing this person to do this, to think their life isn't worth living anymore because I broke up with them. Then the imaginable happened. The imaginable happened. I started hearing from the phone that I had dropped on the floor next to me. I started hearing laughing, laughing. I'm thinking, what is so fucking funny? I'm sitting here crying, thinking I caused something. And would I go to jail because I provoked this person to do this? And I just kept hearing laughter. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I picked up the phone. I hear two men, two guys laughing. Like, I go, what is so damn funny? Then I was told it was a fucking joke. A fucking joke. It was a joke they pulled on me, saying that he ended up ODing and he was in the hospital fighting for his life. They were joking with me. That is not joking. That is sick. That is sick. After that, I decided I'm not talking to either one of you people. You guys got problems in your head. You need medication. All right, so short story on that one. Um, the one that set up his brother to lie to me, I don't want to say this is karma because you're going to make it sound like I'm a bad person, but you're going to be thinking the same thing I am. It's kind of karma. I do feel sorry for the family. I do feel sorry for his brother. But in 2004, he did end up taking his own life. He shot himself up with HERION, and it was bad, and it took his life. So I don't want to be the bad guy here, but I want to say it. That's karma kicking you in the ass. I mean, you were joking about it before, and now it just bit you right in the ass. That's all I gotta say. Okay, I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm not gonna sugarcoat. You just got bit in the ass right there. So yeah, I think I even told his brother, the one that called me, when I ran into him a couple years after his brother did that, and I think I did say that that was karma for you too. I really did not feel bad. Well, anyways, I decided that, you know what, maybe my parents are right. I should not be dating. So, anyways, in school, I started writing short stories. I think I started writing short stories back when I was in middle school. I know it seemed like I'm bouncing around, but I'm just like trying to remember everything. So I ended up writing short stories when I was in school. It started one year, I think it was in seventh grade. I ended up in summer school, and my mom bought me a notebook and told me to do something with it. But I guess my mom didn't expect that when she handed me that little composition book and a pencil that I would end up writing a short story, and that that short story would lead to me writing more stories. By the time I graduated, I had probably written about 100 short stories, and that was starting from the time I was in seventh grade. Do I have those short stories anymore? No, I don't. That I want to discuss in another video about my life because it'll take a little while to talk about it, and it's not something I want to like take forever to talk about because it's not that much to talk about. It's going to be one of my short videos. Uh, Other than writing and hanging out with my friends, whatnot, I did go to summer school. Other than those things, I think I was just a normal kid. I was a normal kid. People thought I was weird, but I think they thought I was weird because I didn't socialize with a lot of people. I was very, I guess you would call it antisocial now. I did suffer with a lot of what you would call now social anxiety. I didn't like talking to a lot of people. I did get treated like I was a poor kid. I got treated like I was a poor kid. Um, my father was the only one that was employed. He worked in a tissue factory. My mom was a stay at home mom. So she raised my sister. And then when my sister moved out, obviously it was just me there. So she was raising my sister and I until my sister moved out. And then it was just me. But we weren't poor. We were middle class, but we weren't poor. And I think why they considered me as poor was because of the way I dressed. Okay, the way I dressed. And the way I dress now is no different than the way I dressed back then, except the style's a little different. I mean, in the 80s, it was all neon. It was spandex pants, leggings, big shirts, tied on the side, these weird skirts, like tutu skirts, Reebok sneakers with like multiple socks. Can't even speak. The big hair and whatnot, which I did have big hair. I had big hair. I'll explain how I ended up with short hair later on, but not right now. My sister would get her school clothes from the mall, and I preferred to get my school clothes from like Ames, which not many people remember Ames because it's no longer around. I got my clothes from Walmart. I got my clothes from thrift stores. I was comfortable in those clothes. My sneakers weren't expensive sneakers. I mean, I don't think I got a pair of expensive sneakers until I was a senior in high school. But I was looked at like I was poor, low class, which I wasn't. But that's the thing. People will judge a book by its cover without actually opening the book to see what's inside. So I was the outcast in school, and that caused me to get into a couple fights in school. I remember one fight when I was in sixth grade. It all started because I got into an argument with this girl that's in my class, got into an argument with her on a bus. She ended up getting her friend that's older than her, which was only a year older than me, to beat me up. Well, I was in the sixth grade hall at my locker, had my locker open. I was getting everything that I needed, closed my locker, and then out of nowhere, I get pushed and slammed face first into my locker. With a quick reaction, I ended up spinning around, and without even thinking or even looking at the person that did it, I grabbed the person by the front of their shirt, spun them around, and slammed their back into my locker. Yeah, I got a lot of people that can vouch on this one for me. She ended up pushing me away, and that put us in the middle of the hallway. She thought because she was bigger than me that she was gonna end up, you know, beating me up. But the thing is I am a tomboy and I was trained in kickboxing. I knew how to fight. I was raised like a boy. I knew how to fight. Well, anyways, she decided to shove me in the hall. So I shoved her back. She shoved me a little harder. I shoved her a little harder. Eventually, I made her skid across the floor on her butt. She got back up, tried to get back at me. I shoved her again, knocked her on her butt. So I don't know why she kept getting up and coming back at me. When you know, in the middle of the fight, the bell went off. So everybody that was standing there watching the fight, that it was mainly the sixth graders because they're the only ones that were in the hall at the time that this fight started. They all started to scatter because it was time to get on to your next class. Well, anyways, the chick looked at me and she goes, "Well, I'll see you ninth period." I looked at her and I said, "Good, I'll be here." A guy in my class walks up to me and goes, "Oh, you know she's gonna kick your ass." And I'm thinking, are you blind? Did you not just see her butt getting skidded across the floor? So I'm just like, okay. So I ended up having to go to technology after that, and it was a big topic conversation in technology about how I was going to get my butt kicked. Well, whatever. So come ninth period, I have study hall. So during study hall, I asked the study hall teacher if I could get a pass for the hall. Got a hall pass. I went to my locker because she told me to meet her back in the sixth grade hall, ninth period. Wouldn't you know, there was a crowd that showed up in the sixth grade hall waiting for a fight to break out. So here we all are waiting for her to show up. We're sitting in the sixth grade hall trying not to get caught, but we're just sitting there waiting on this chick to show up to finish beating me up. Well, here's the thing, she never showed up. And here's the even funnier part, she ended up moving out of that town. I don't know if it was just a coincidence or she just decided I'm getting the hell out of here because I just got my ass beat. So yeah. Um I had been in a couple fights, but that one was the most memorable fight I have ever been in school. And it's fun. It was funny. It was funny. Here I am, sixth grade, and there's this eighth grader trying to beat me up. But okay. Well, anyways, school was school. You had your cliques. We all know about that. Your jocks, your nerds, um, your band geeks, as they would call them. I would never call them band geeks. You know, I think people in the band were nice people. Um, you had your stuck up rich kids. What school doesn't? Me, I don't know what category I was ever in. And I don't think I ever was in a category because I was just me. Well, anyways, let's bump it to Halloween 1999. I had a Halloween party in my basement. And that party, I ended up inviting some friends over, and my mom allowed me to invite my one male friend over. His name's Patrick. And Patrick and I, we got to be closer friends and whatnot. And the funny thing is that his mom and my mom went to school together. They weren't friends, but they did go to school together. Well, I was still not allowed to date, but Patrick and I became really good friends and we started hanging out more often. So he became my, you know, my second boyfriend. I would hang out at his house. And whenever I went over to the trail park, no, I did not hang out with the other guy, the one that you know, joked about ODing. I did not hang out with him or his brother when I went over to the trailer park. The funny thing is that I was in the same class as Patrick's brother. Well, anyways, as we got closer and whatnot, I we decided that we would go to prom together. And okay, don't put me down for this, okay? I'm in high school. We weren't really dating. We just hung out. There was nothing, sexual between us and whatnot. Sorry about that. I ended up getting a phone call and I had to pause my video. As I was saying, um, my boyfriend and I, there was nothing between us that was, sexual or anything. So don't call me a p word or don't call me a groomer or anything. I was only 18 at the time. We were both in school. Uh, all right, so at the time, we decided to date, become boyfriend and girlfriend. He was, I want to say 16 years old. Okay. Now, I don't need to hear people saying, oh my God, he's 16. He's a minor. I'm in high school. I'm still considered a minor. Anyways, we decided that we're going to go to prom together because obviously none of the guys in my grade wanted anything to do with me. They thought of me as the weirdo. Well, anyways, got closer to prom. Uh, then it got to be my birthday. I was turning 19, and on that day, Patrick decided to break up with me on my birthday in the senior hall in front of everybody in my class. That was embarrassing. That was seriously embarrassing. So I told him, I don't want to go to prom with you. You're not going to the prom. I paid for the tickets. You're not going to prom with me. Well, he ended up going to prom with me because I called around to my male friends. One said he would go with me, then he bailed. Another one said he would go with me, but he wanted to go stag. So I ended up having to call my ex and say, you know what, we may not be together, but a deal was a deal. We decided that we were going to go to prom together, and I still have your ticket. So, since I didn't think I was going to be going to prom and my tickets were going to go to waste, I didn't buy a prom dress. But guess who had to scramble to Sears to get a prom dress uh, the day before prom? Me. And I ended up with a very ugly prom dress. A two-piece ugly prom dress. Yeah. But not to make my videos any longer, let's just talk about a couple more things about my childhood. Because originally I was going to talk about my childhood and then I was going to do a video about my teen years, but I seem to be putting these two together. All right, so we had our prom. It was a really nice prom. It was at the top of the plaza, which that doesn't even exist anymore. That doesn't even exist anymore because they demolished that building and something else is there now. Well, anyways, it came time for like final exams and final projects and whatnot, and I had to do my senior speech. And as you know, I don't like talking in crowds doing public speaking. So it was hard for me while I was doing my senior speech. I didn't know if I could stand in front of everybody and do my speech, But I did end up doing my speech, and it did turn out good, except for my friend kind of screwed it up with the music that was supposed to be with my senior speech, because I incorporated the song Graduation by Vitamin C into my speech. So school ended up being over with. I ended up graduating high school, class of 2000. So that's my childhood in a nutshell. That's my teen years in a nutshell. And that's that. But I'm going to let you all go because there is a weird smell outside that is coming through my window and it's making me a little nauseous. So I need to check into that and find out what that is, but it really stinks and I'm very sensitive to smells. So I'm going to go check that out and I'll be back soon. I'm not 100% sure what type of video I'm going to do with you, considering the fact that I kind of doubled up a video here because I just kept on talking about my childhood and my teen years together. So I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to hear about me? What do you want to learn about me? So I'm gonna let y'all go, and I hope everybody enjoys their Labor Day, because I think this might be my last video for today because I might be a little busy. But who knows? I may be able to get outside and maybe do some other videos outside. But we'll see how that goes. So bye for now.